It's because of your Instagram. We should do a bloopers one. Hi everyone, welcome to our weekly podcast, Lift Her Weight. I'm here with the amazing Mish. How are you?
Hi. Good. How are you?
How was your week?
It was good.
Yeah.
Busy but good.
But mine, I felt like it was a lot, and I still have a lot to do, and it doesn't feel like it's the weekend. But it's okay. The nice weather helps, right?
Yeah.
And before we even dive into our conversation, I wanted to thank everyone who has been reaching out, DMing me, and who has been just coming into our life and telling us that you're listening to us, that you're watching us, you're commenting, and this means a lot. Subscribe to our channels on YouTube, on Spotify, follow us on Instagram. My handle is Anna Nova Fit, and Mish's handle
Mish
is
Fit.
Follow us and just share with us what you want to, what your thoughts are, what you want to hear. And because I heard a lot of men are reaching out, a lot of guys, which, by the way, even though this is a podcast about women in bodybuilding and fitness and just life in general, navigating this world, men, you're welcome. Your opinion is really important to us, and we live our life with you, and I love hearing from you. And the one thing that I've been hearing is certain myths about women in bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And a big one. And that was something actually, even my dad has told me. He's like, oh, be careful with bodybuilding because building muscle makes you bulky and big.
Yeah.
I've been bodybuilding for a year and a half, and I'm smaller.
Yeah.
And I weigh more, but my clothes are different.
They fit different.
Different.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to build your muscle?
Yeah. Took me about like 5. Well, to put on a really good foundation, I'd probably say 3 years.
Wow.
3 years at first, but like it shapes up the whole body, kind of gives you that hourglass look. But yeah, you're absolutely right in terms of myth. Like there's a lot of people, you know what though, honestly, like people are always going to judge you for what you look like, no matter what. But in terms of myths and looking bulky, that's the biggest myth in terms with women and building muscle. If it were true, guys, that women would get bulky building muscle, I would be a straight up dude right now. I would look like a dude. I would talk like a dude. I would walk like a dude, because I've been training like a classic physique pro for the past 5 years. And I've built a physique that is, in my opinion, still feminine. But that's because I do bodybuilding, which is like body shaping, and you're shaping in the right areas.
But what I think we should talk about when it comes to women and muscle building, that myth is kind of married to the one where women, the only way to lose weight is through cardio and hours and hours and hours of cardio, which is actually, as far as I know, cardio breaks down your muscle. If you have any muscle, if you're doing excessive cardio. And so yes, cardio does keep you in that smaller shape, but muscle indifference actually burns more fat. So when a client approaches you and tells, I want to lose weight, what is the first thing?
The first thing I ever talk to people about is building muscle. Because if you have no muscle, then you are not burning any calories at rest. For every pound of muscle that you put on, you add 50 calories to your BMR. Which is your basal metabolic rate. So by just living and breathing and being you burn calories. By building muscle, for every pound, you add 50 calories burn, sitting, doing nothing. That is the number one thing I go over with my clients. Because you need muscle to regulate all metabolic processes. It's like if you focus solely on just losing body fat without having your muscle, then you're just going to continue to be skinny fat. Because that muscle helps you to burn the calories. And why wouldn't you just want to burn calories by sitting and doing nothing? You know what I'm saying? People get excited when I say that. I'm like, you can literally sit and do nothing and burn calories if you have more muscle than the person next to you. And they're like, really? And their face lights up. Because most people don't want to do anything.
Yeah, but the women come and they say, "Oh, I don't want to look like a man," which is another myth, right? Like, look how they're connected, right? There's always, "Oh, you're gonna look bulky."
Yeah.
Cardio is the best way to lose muscle, and then you're gonna look like a man.
Yeah.
And yes, we do have it in the industry, in bodybuilding and fitness, that some women do push to those extremes to be more masculine.
Yeah.
But they do that by choice.
Exactly. Yeah, that's by choice. You have to know what you're doing to put on muscle. It doesn't just, you don't just do a bicep curl and poof, you know, you're Arnold.
You woke up the next day and you're like, oh no, I'm a man of Popeye, you know.
Exactly. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
You have to know what you're doing and deliberately do it. Most women also don't even take in enough protein daily to grow muscle, right? 3 meals a day, if like one of your 3 meals is missing protein, I can guarantee you that you're not having enough protein to build muscle. So you could literally train as hard as you want in the gym. If you're not giving your body that protein and carb to build your muscle, you will not get bulky. You cannot out train a bad diet. You cannot train hard and build if you don't eat enough food, right? So, and most women don't eat enough food. There's a lot of women I know that don't eat it in the morning. They don't eat their breakfast. Their metabolism is slow, right? Very small appetite, right?
But muscle building, actually, when you go with the training of the mindset of building muscle, it makes you hungrier.
It does. Yeah, because your metabolism is spiking, right? So when you are hungry, your metabolism is working. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. It's fueling your body. It's, you know, like it's crazy, you know. And if you build muscle in the right places, like, which is what I love to do, and that's what I'm most passionate about, is helping women put on muscle in the right places, capping the shoulders, rounding the glutes, nice quads. You know what I'm saying, right? While keeping your waist small, right? They're all things where you can accentuate that hourglass shape to a woman. And that's fucking sexy. No? Like,
it is.
I don't know. Like, it's all, when I see somebody with muscle, right? You're like, damn, like, that's hard work. You know what I mean? And then there's body composition too, right? You get bodies that have more body fat on them, but fat in the right places, right? So a lot of women in their younger years, they'll hold body fat in their lower end. And it's nice because, you know, it shapes the butt and whatnot. But what happens as you age, that'll go away, right?
Oh, that's
like the body fat, it'll sag. The beauty of where the fat sits, it's going to move, obviously, because it's fat. As you age, it's gravity, right? Why not fill that in with muscle and shape your body and increase your BMR and build on your health and be strong so that you don't get osteoporosis, you don't get any of these diseases, you don't get diabetes. People with muscle don't get diabetes. Who do you see that's jacked with diabetes? Nobody.
Actually, that's a good point.
So it's, yeah, I don't know. It's just this big misconception. And you can build really nice muscular legs and a lower end as a woman and increase your metabolism without being bulky. You don't have to build your upper body, right? Obviously, it's important.
But I think before we, let's talk about the bulky. How, because I think at the core of this myth is, how do women get bulky?
How do women get bulky?
Yeah.
I don't even know. What is bulky? Like, it's so subjective.
You know, they get big by training really hard.
Yeah.
Most often not natural. You know, when it comes to supplementation. And also, they lift heavy as hell and they eat a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And again, so I think a big part of this myth is, and also, you know what, it can also be I'm thinking right now, it can also be a lot of women would go to the gym, train, and men too, not women only. Women, we love you. We're all like positive and supporting each other here. But we would go to the gym. I used to do that before once, I would work out hard.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, I have an excuse now. I'm going to go eat a lot.
Right.
But I won't eat, I won't eat understand what I'm eating, and I would like pack up on carbs. Sure, I'll have protein, but I would also allow myself ice cream and whatever. And then I would start gaining weight.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I remember thinking to myself, oh, that's because I trained. That's because I was squatting and now my legs are getting bigger.
Yeah.
But it was just a diet.
Yeah.
So it's I think we need to really get at the bottom when it comes to those myths, because to understand that actually muscle building for women is probably the best thing that they can do for their bodies and mental health and their self-esteem.
Yes. And it's also very difficult to do in the first place, to build muscle as a woman, right? You have to have the knowledge. You have to know what you're doing to do that. You need a coach. You need to be on the right nutrition plan. So it doesn't just happen overnight like that,
What is the first thing that you do when you a woman comes to you and says, hey, I want, walk me through, I'm just curious, walk me through what is that you do with your client when you want to set them up on the right path to muscle building?
We start off very slow. Obviously, with my clients, I have to make sure that they move properly. They have to be able to move properly. Of course, I do a full assessment on them. But usually with women respond really well to high reps. So I get them to do high repetition workouts. So literally anything in the body. I'll have them do high repetitions, supersets, connect with the muscle. Most important, number one, is mind-muscle connection. If you don't feel it, then there's a lag going on. I teach them this, and then I teach them through time under tension, keeping that tension on the muscle throughout the whole set.
It's so scientific to me.
Well, no,
but
it's like also, and that's the thing too, right? Like building muscle for women, like you have to know how to train properly, and you have to know how to you have to learn how to enjoy feeling pain. You have to like the feeling of your muscles tearing apart. That's what it's all about. Like if you're about building muscle, it's like, okay, I'm going into the gym. I'm going to work really fucking hard and I'm going to push as much as I can today until I can't, because gravity is going to win, right? There's a lot of people that go into the gym and they just do these half-ass reps. Swear to God, how many times have you seen a girl on the leg press and she puts on 5 plates and it's a half rep? And then, oh no, not a phone. This is the other thing too. I'm not hating on anybody, but if this is like, if you don't feel your legs after leg day, or you don't feel your muscle after you train it, then you're not working hard enough to build muscle. Mm-hmm. And that's how most people train, right?
Yeah, they go in. I will quote, I love this. I listened to another podcast. Coach Adam is Beginning the Brain. It's an American podcast. And he says, you walk into the gym. When I walk into the gym, and when I walk out, I would be able to know one thing. I either went in for health and fitness, or I went in to really train. Yeah. And health and fitness means you went in and you kind of, you gave it to, as if you just just moved.
Just here to, general health, move the body.
Yes. And which is fine.
Great.
It's fine to do, especially if you're starting out, you're trying to understand what it means for your body to move, because your body we don't actually understand a lot of our bodies until we start moving and training. I keep telling this, everyone who asks me, I said, in the span of a year and a half, I have understood I've connected with my body so much that I wake up every morning and I know exactly in what stasis my body is, how's my digestions, my hormones, my muscles. You just kind of reacquaint yourself with your body.
Yeah.
And that's what I think another thing about that people, and which is good, going to the gym and trying to move, understand how your body moves.
And we all start somewhere, right? We all I started in the gym. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I don't know. I thought I was a power lifter. I was lifting really, really heavy with awful form. You know what I'm saying? So, and
Did you
that
get
wasn't.
injured? Did you get injured?
No, I didn't get injured, but I wasn't building muscle because I wasn't training properly, right? But then eventually, yeah, like you said, you learn the movements, you learn from other people, you learn from, and if there's somebody that's watching you train and like you're really not doing it right, they should come up to you and say something and help you. Because I remember when I started, and I would have loved for people to just come up to me and correct my form. That would have meant the world to me. And I've had that happen a couple times.
But that reminds me about another myth that a lot of, there is this misconception that women in bodybuilding and with muscle, or women with muscle, are lesbians.
It's so funny.
And that, like, when you approach another woman and tell her,
it's more of like a butch, like, oh, you have muscle, like, oh, you don't compete bikini wellness, your figure, your physique. It's like, oh, you're like you take on more of like a butch kind of look, or like that masculine, right, type vibe.
Which, again, no problem about, I'm straight, and and we know it's Pride Month, and we love this is an inclusive podcast, and we love you. But there is, again, this societal misperceptions about, like, how we look and how we should look as women.
Yeah.
And even if we look in a certain way that it's not the right way, we have to be labeled somehow.
Yeah. And you know what? Honestly, like, to be really real, I've always had people judge me for what I look like. I've had girls say, oh, I don't want shoulders like hers. I don't want to look like, I want to look like Michelle, but I don't want to look like that much like her. Maybe like that, but like just toned down a little bit, So,
that's
like,
not nice.
Well, also too, I don't give a shit. I don't fucking care. I'm like, because people don't realize how hard it is to build that physique. And it's also disrespectful, in my opinion, to speak poorly about somebody that's worked really, really hard on their physique to get that, and it's usually going to be people that come from, like, that haven't accomplished that are going to say something negative, and really, like, whatever it is that you want to look like or achieve, like, that's what you should do. But I think, honestly, the most important approach here is to take a health approach, right? Like, we're building muscle, and it's not for the aesthetic. It's to move better. It's to feel better. It's to increase your BMR. It's to prevent disease. You know what I'm saying? All of these things are so much more important than looking a certain way or thinking that people are going to think that you're bulky, And I think that this movement is going to take off, and it's really, really fresh right now. We're getting away from that women being skinny and kind of transitioning into this a muscular era for women that are really strong.
Which is another, actually, that was another myth that I done my research. It was another myth that a very big myth in the fitness and the bodybuilding, outside, let's just say, or people venturing into the fitness, or people looking on the outside, not wanting to venture in, is that your healthiest body weight is not your smallest size.
Yeah.
And we can talk about, actually, a whole episode on that alone, because we understand that when you get to the stage look, which is your leanest, kind of driest, or this is still not healthy and sustainable.
No, gosh, no. Bodybuilding competition is not, guys, it's not healthy.
Not at all.
It's not. It's the extreme of putting on muscle and losing weight, right? Yeah. So, like, that's not, it's not healthy, and it's not maintainable. It's not sustainable. Like to look that way. I was just actually having a conversation with a girl from my work the other day, and she just finished her prep, and it's a mental, like, you go through a really big depression afterwards because it is not sustainable to look that way. And then people think, oh, they're going to look that way. Like, like forever. And it's like, no, you have to come back and you have to be healthy again. So really, recreational bodybuilding is the most healthiest in my opinion, because you're living, you're fueling your body, you're training, you're lifting weights, right? And that's how it should be. Everybody should be focused on building muscle, in my opinion, whether you're, male,
Recreational
female.
bodybuilding, I like that.
Yeah.
How would that look?
Recreational bodybuilding? Yeah. It's like what you do when you start going into the gym, and then, you're lifting weight, you're moving around, and then you're eating a diet that's, I don't know, let's say around that 2,000 calorie mark, where you're fueling your body enough and you're giving it nutrients and you're taking supplementations and, like herbal supplements, and then you're training hard, right? So not starving yourself, going through a bodybuilding prep.
It's
just
having
healthy living.
The discipline, right? Having that discipline.
Yeah, having the discipline, like to go to the gym and lift weights, like.
But I think that for a lot of people, it is also, and we can talk about it a lot, and I wish to talk about it a lot with you, is having that goal, right? A lot of women would step on, and men too, I assume, would step on the stage. Yeah. That would be their goal, right? They would build that muscle, build that discipline. Yeah. They step on the stage, and then what afterwards, right?
Yeah.
And for some people, it's just a one-off. Yeah. For other people, they want to grow and build, and so
it's a great accomplishment.
It is
doing a show.
I imagine I can't wait to do mine, but then you then go back to your regular life. How can you sustain that discipline if, for example, you don't want to go for another show? Like,
you get back to the plan, right? Like, and it depends what you want to do moving forward. If you do want to do another show, then you get feedback from the judges for your show. What are the areas that I need to work on? You talk with your coach, right? On what's my reverse. What does that look like? You should be reversing out, in my opinion, every single time. If you don't reverse out, you're going to explode and mess up your whole body, your hormones, everything. But moving forward after a show, you need direction on what to do, because it can get very depressing afterwards. You come out of this high, right? Everybody's paying attention to you. Oh, how is it going? Oh my gosh, you look so good. You look so shredded, blah. And then you go, you do your show. For example, you don't do that great as well as you thought that you'd do. Then nobody pays attention to you anymore, right? It sucks. It is what it is. And then you start packing on weight again. But this weight is healthy weight. That's why bodybuilding, I think, in my opinion, is really one of the hardest sports, because you see your body fluctuate from one extreme into the other. And you have to have that mental strength to be able to realize, that it's going to be uncomfortable all the time, whether I'm overweight. Okay. But listen, guys, bodybuilders have a really bad body dysmorphia. When we're in our off season, we think that we are chunk, but that is normal and healthy. You know what I'm saying? So we fluctuate between, these two phases, and it sucks. But that's kind of where, like, you have to have the mental strength to be like, you know what, this is only a season that I'm going through. I'm building muscle right now, right? I'm going back into what the judges told me that I need to work on. And then when I'm ready again, and then we've built enough, now we're going to dial back in again, So you're either looking great, shredded, but you're hungry as hell. Or you're like off season and you're chunk and you don't want to put a bikini on,
Yeah.
So but you're happy, right? Because you got your body fat on you. You feel like a normal human being. You can interact with people, So,
and you don't wake up hungry in the middle of the night. Like I was telling you, last night I woke up and I couldn't fall asleep because now I'm starting to lean out, and it is. But I think talking about having these conversations, and like we're seeing here how it's in a sense both complex and at the same simple when it comes to bodybuilding and muscle building. And I think maybe these whole conversations that people are not listening to them is why people are afraid, or we are creating this myths. Like, I mean, we are not, but people are creating this myths.
Yeah.
And understanding that I do agree with you that we are in a movement. There is I'm hoping and I'm seeing this trend where people are starting more and more to pay attention about muscle building and pay attention that muscle building actually gives you so many benefits. But we need more. We need more, and we need to break down this whole misconception that if you have muscle, you're not gonna find a boyfriend or a girlfriend. And
I will say though, like, to be really honest, when you do put on muscle and you put on a decent amount, it does wean off a lot of the male population for you.
really,
Well, think about
to be honest, I don't.
it does, because as a female, if you have muscle, right? Like, and I mean, I guess I'm sure like there's some guys that have fetishes and whatnot, but like, you're not going to attract your skinnier male. You know what I'm saying?
But I don't want a skinny male.
That's what I mean. So
but I don't want a skinny guy.
That's what I mean. But
I love you, skinny guys. But
I love you, skinny guys. But you know what I'm saying? Like you won't see a really jacked female with a guy who doesn't go to the gym and that's not jacked. You won't typically see that.
Ooh, this is getting so spicy because I'm kind of like thinking about another episode. Maybe next episode we talk about relationships.
Okay.
And that lifestyle.
Okay.
And because you're right. And then I guess a lot of the skinny guys or whoever, like there's a lot of men who don't like muscle and they would.
Yeah. Just like, like a female with muscle probably wouldn't be attracted to like a thinner male. And that's okay. You know what I'm saying? Because, women need somebody that is like, more feel stronger, get that protector feeling. You know what I'm saying? So it definitely, as women, in my experience, when I've put on muscle, it weans, it like narrows that pool of men, where that would be attracted to you.
That's a good point, because I've had it a lot where my parents would say, "Oh, you shouldn't bodybuild because men don't like muscle."
Yeah, listen, girl, I came from a very religious background, and my parents were sure as hell disappointed when I started putting on muscle, because they're like, "You're not gonna find a nice Christian boy," and I'm like, what the heck does that mean? I'm like, there's Christian bodybuilders? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like it
breaks
does.
perceptions. It breaks perceptions, and I guess and I appreciate it because myths can. Well, that's boxes, right? They put us women in boxes and certain expectations that I don't believe we should, and I think that's another reason why women in bodybuilding I admire them, because they come out against that grain. They say, "Hey, I want to feel strong in my body," and then I'm constantly on Instagram and I see all these amazing, strong women. And of course, then I would always click on the comment section.
Yeah.
And there would be someone there saying, "Yeah,
like
that's not naughty. That's not naughty. Oh, that's manly."
Yeah.
And I'm like, just even if it's not.
Usually those are the insecure men. They're the insecure men that.
But or women too. Even if it's not, we are recognizing, we are celebrating at the very basics why I wanted to talk about the myths, because they, first of all, hit my self-conscious, right? I feel conscious about them. I usually don't care, but I'm conscious because I also work in the education environment and the media environment, where corporate, and I often feel I actually haven't had that, but I've thought it in the back of my head. Ooh, would my bosses think that I would step on stage and in bikini, right, and show muscles, right? I shouldn't be thinking that.
No,
I shouldn't be thinking that. Or, oh, my students are following my Instagram, and I have a lot of my students following my Instagram, and they're like, "Yay!"
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking to myself, maybe I shouldn't be posting my posing videos but I shouldn't be thinking that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why? I'm not doing anything vulgar. I am building muscle, you know, I shouldn't be feeling self-conscious for trying to take care of my body and reconnect with my body and fall in love with my body and myself. So afterwards, I can be healthy and I can support other people.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Well, next week, then maybe we will talk about relationships, because I think support is important.
Yeah.
And finding that circle of people who support you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's
and
super important.
Finding that Christian boy who will support you.
They're just worried because, you know, most Christian boys don't bodybuild, you know, like the ones, I mean, that I grew up with in the church, they were always more like on like the smaller side, right? So then my parents start to worry, oh, you're not going to meet somebody, you know, and I'm like, I'm doing just fine. I got myself a really nice man. And him and I, we share the same, you know, we share the same lifestyle. He introduced me into this lifestyle, and then I fell in love with it, and he built me up. And he's a huge reason why I am the way I am today. You know, and talking about myths and building muscle and women, like, if it wasn't for muscle for me, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. There's no way. Like, I used to be very, very thin, right? And I thought that being skinny was like that ideal. Like, it was like a competition to not eat. It was ridiculous. And then, you know, I get into relationship after relationship of feeling like a pushover. You can't do this, Michelle. You can't do that. You can't look at this person. Why did you look at this person? Blah, 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 blah. Controlled. I was tired. I was done with that. So that anger that I had was then put into the gym. Like, I put all my anger into the gym and built muscle and built myself up because I was into this mindset, like, I'm never going to let anybody treat me like that again. Never. Nor should any woman feel like that ever and be dominated in such a way like that where it suppresses who they are. So for me, my muscles it's completely changed my life, because there's something to be said too about a woman that does show up or walk into a room that has proper posture, that walks around with confidence and holds herself high. There's something to be said about that where, I mean, in my own experience, I feel like I cannot be touched by men anymore emotionally who treat women like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And, you know, I'm going to say, I don't want to say anything else because you've captured it all. I'm just going to say amen to that.
Amen.
Amen.